Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Butternomics. I'm your host, Brandon Butler, founder and CEO of Butter ATL. And today, we got a special guest up in here. And we go way back. Again, this is the thing, man. Y'all think I be playing around, man. I got deep relationships in this city. I know people, and I've known people for a while. It's not a game. And I got my friend, my homegirl, Miss Amber Saunders. Is it Esquire? Do I put Esquire on the internet now?
You can.
Esquire? Amber Saunders, Esquire. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, real quick, you know what? No, before we get into that, we've been doing something a little bit different here on Butternomics lately, right? I usually have people introduce themselves, like, who are you and all this kind of stuff. But what I've actually been doing lately is I'm just asking ChatGPT. So I'm going to tell you what ChatGPT said about you when I said, do you know who Amber Saunders is of the Saunders firm?
Oh,
Okay, you ready for this?
interesting. Okay.
Amber C. Saunders is the principal attorney at the Saunders firm, an Atlanta-based law practice specializing in estate planning and business law. She holds a Juris Doctorate degree from Atlanta's John Marshall Law School and an LLM from Emory University School of Law, class of 2021. Before practicing law, Amber founded Enrichment Prep, an alternative test prep company, and authored Ahead of the Curve, What Parents Need to Know to Get Their Kids into College. Her firm offers her services in estate planning, estate administration, and business law, aiming to help clients and protect generational wealth. Now, my question for you is that accurate, and did it leave anything out?
I'm about to copy it. I like that.
You like that?
Yeah, I like it.
That's how you know you
It
made
didn't
it.
give too much. It didn't give too much. It gave just enough.
I've had a couple people, because a couple people are like, it's close, but they left a couple things out. But if you feel like that's kind of directionally on point,
Yeah, it's more, but like it didn't need to read out my resume, so it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, again, just for a little context, Amber, we met long time ago. Coming out of
2010.
2010, was that it? Yeah, because it was around 2010. It was after I had won that Black Enterprise pitch competition, and then we got put in the the 100 UE, a program that was
They tried.
supposed to cut us some checks. Did you ever get your check?
I think so.
I got a little bit of
I
mine.
think I did. Yeah.
I got a little bit of mine, but I ain't get all of it.
I think I did. Yeah. Mine was at Justin's.
Yeah,
That's where I did mine. my
Okay.
pitch.
that's where it was. We know I was at Justin's. There were some other connections in there back in the day.
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know where all those folks are now, but that's when you were doing enrichment prep, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was when you were getting all that stuff going.
Yep, that's when I started it. I think I got mine because that helped me with all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's when I had the website shop.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had to fight them to get a little bit of my money.
Did you?
And then they told me at a certain point, they were like, well, Brandon, you can't really. So just for those that don't know, so we got put in this accelerator program. I don't care. They're all out of business now, so we can say whatever we want to say. We got put in this accelerator program. I think they promised both of us, was it $100,000? Or was
Mine was 10.
Was it 10?
10.
Maybe it was 10. Okay, I know it was some numbers on there. Yeah, it was 10 grand or something. And, I thought when I won the competition, they gave me a check. I was like, all right, where my money at?
Right. You
And then
took
they-
that picture.
Yeah, I took the picture. And then they were like, well, actually,
Get it over time.
you get it over time, but we've actually subcontracted this out to another company. In order for you to get your money, now you got to go through this business accelerator program. And at that time, I was doing the website shop. I had a chain of web design stores in malls and brick and mortar. And I remember I was just like, why you got me in meetings with people asking how to design a logo? Like, I'm making logos. I'm making stuff. Like, I'm a little bit further ahead. Then I remember we got to a certain point, and they were like, when it was finally time to get the money, they were like, well, in order to get the money, you got to basically write a request or a proposal
Yeah.
for why you need the money. This is probably 3 or 4 months after we actually won. And then on top of that, I remember they told me that you can't ask for the money all at once because other people need their money too.
I don't think that happened to me.
That didn't happen to you?
No, I feel like I got mine all at once because I think I was one of the first.
Oh, so you went through. You went through and got it.
I think they gave me my. I still had to go through the program, but I don't remember having to do a request. I remember other people having to ask for it when we were going through the cohort,
Yeah.
but I don't remember having to do that.
Yeah. And then I remember I had to send a very pointed email to
Oh, y'all wasn't playing.
the good people at Black Enterprise.
Mhm.
And I got some more of my money from them directly. So it was a mess.
You were causing a ruckus.
Oh, I was causing all kind of ruckus because I was like, yo, I need my money. I
Right,
thought,
right.
y'all gave me this big old check. I had that big check.
Took this picture.
Took this picture. I think I threw that check away a couple of years ago. But I used to take that check with me to stuff. I remember I went to another pitch competition.
I didn't get my check.
I brought the check with me to another pitch competition one time. Like,
Right.
I was like, you know what? If I ain't getting this money, I'm gonna use this check to get me some more money. So imagine me walking into a pitch competition to pitch my business with somebody else's check, and then being like, y'all should give me this because I already won this one time.
I know what I'm doing.
I was wilding out back in the day.
Oh, that's fun.
We've come a long way since then, though.
We've come a long way.
Look at us now.
Hey, still doing this. Still running, doing businesses, trying to figure it out.
Hey. Now tell me now again after that what is the Saunders firm? What exactly are you working on now? ChatGPT told us a little bit, but now you tell us.
A business and estate planning. The bulk of the practice is estate planning because I just love doing that. I think that it is really important. I don't think there are enough people who do it. And so that's my favorite kind of law to practice. And I wouldn't have thought so because it was boring as I don't know what in law school. It was a terrible class.
Now, what led you down that path? How did you get involved in that?
My grandmother was the only person that I really knew who did any estate planning, and she did it. She used to go meet with her friends on Sunday and pick stocks, and she got long-term care insurance, healthcare, directive power of attorney, all this stuff. So when she had a stroke and her dementia got bad, it was really easy for my mother and my uncle to take care of her. And when she passed away, the property just was in their name, and there were no issues. But then we saw all these other people in my family who folks was cutting up. And then the last person that died during that time period was my uncle, and my mother had to go to court for like 3 years and some change. And so it was like, well, why didn't y'all do this when grandma did it? It doesn't make any sense. And finally, my mother was able to sell the house, and that money, that the house was originally my great-grandmother's, her grandmother, it helped her pay for stuff when she was sick. It helped all of this stuff. And so I'm like, if just one house can do that, imagine if all of us are setting up things for our children, and it can just we wouldn't have had to do pitch competitions if there was some money somewhere, right? That might make it easier for you to start the business. You don't have to go beg banks or try and do all of this stuff because you have something there that will allow you to be able to start something and figure it out. So I just want to evangelize that as much as possible because I think we have a thing in our community about making folks grind for stuff all the time, or like, well, I worked for it, they need to work. Well, help them a little bit.
Help them out. It's interesting because, again, I've worked with a lot of people, and one thing I've just, again, noticed and realized over the years, especially in basically non-Black communities, like, a lot of wealth comes from insurance and passing down assets. Don't even get me started on the whole, like, beg, borrow, and die and, all that kind of stuff, right? But, like, I think that people kind of miss that critical step. Like, I have a friend of mine, I remember, he started his business. He recently sold his company for millions of dollars. And, I used to work with him, and I remember he had an uncle that passed away. And his uncle left him like a couple $100,000. And that's what he used to fund his business, right? And so I think, again, people miss that step. And like we were even talking about before, I'm like, look, GoFundMe is not, it should not be your option, right? Look, I understand stuff happens, but like GoFundMe should not be the default way that we're going to put some of y'all on the ground. On top of that, you're still not leaving anything for anybody. So when it comes to estate planning, a lot of people think it's only for wealthy people, people that have money. When did you realize that people in our community, especially, were kind of missing out on this critical step?
Because I thought back to childhood and life, and I don't even think I've ever heard a Black person say somebody died. They'll be like going up yonder, a transition,
right?
Got their wings. It's all kind of, and it's like if you don't even say the word, you're not even dealing with it. Like you won't. Yeah. You're not even thinking about this might happen to you, what I need to plan for. We don't even want to, don't talk about it or something like that. Or, there's just, and I don't want to call it superstition because it's not like, there's a black cat walking by, but it's like we act like if you talk about it, it's going to happen faster. And it's not just us. Like there are other communities in the Latino community, people don't talk about it that much. Like they're not we're not talking about it. And I think we leave our children, our community at a disadvantage, just period. So that's one thing. And then two, we think we have time. Like, we literally like, okay, I'm going to do it later. I got too much other stuff to do. Why am I going to sit here and start talking about, well, if I'm in the hospital, this is what I want to happen. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, people just will avoid that at all costs. But it's just, you can see examples of, celebrities and see how it can, you want to tell people the same way you want to run your business or you want to plan your vacation. You want to plan what happens in case of an emergency.
Okay, so tell people if you don't do this, because again, like, here's the thing. Look, I hope everybody's here for a long time. I wish y'all health and happiness and wealth and all these things. But again, the reality is, we all not gonna be here forever.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do these things, if you don't put these things in place, what will happen?
So there's a few things. I think that there are simple stories. One that I think is in the news that people might remember is Takeoff dying.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have a relationship with his father. So he's not married. He doesn't have any kids. His mother would get it. His mother and father would get it. His father didn't raise him, according to reports. So now this person is getting half of a $26 million estate and is probably going to continue to get money because there are royalties that would be going from all the songs that they had. So now this person who didn't raise you, probably didn't pay child support, didn't do whatever, gets half of your stuff instead of your mother. But of course, he was 20-something years old. He didn't think he was going to die.
Right.
So there's no plan. Not to mention the amount that the estate is going to have to pay in taxes. Aretha Franklin had a special needs son. They're looking for stuff on napkins and things like that. Or it can be as simple as siblings arguing because whatever beef they had growing up is going to show up when someone passes away. Or the thing that I see a lot is with blended families. People get married, they have second marriages, and there's money and things that they want for their children to be able to have, but they didn't take care of it. So then the spouse gets part of it, and if something happens to that spouse and their children get it, that's not, and the person who died doesn't want this other person's children to get their stuff. They want their children to, but you don't sit down and go through that because it means you have to have uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
And we do it all the time. My grandparents did not get a divorce until they both were about to marry somebody else. So if they had died, but they were in a relationship with someone else or had other kids, then your ex gets everything because you don't want to sit there and have a conversation about it. It just doesn't, you can cause considerable harm to your family. It can go through probate court if someone opens up an estate, but if they don't and it's just there, then you're living in the house. It's your grandma's house, which is why we have so many issues with heirs' property, and we can't, rehab or get mortgages on it or do things like that because it's not properly changed over. And I don't even have a good reason why we don't do it. Some of it I think is we don't know, but a lot of it I think is we just avoid it.
Yeah. Now, just for definition's sake, because I think sometimes, again, language matters, words matter.
Right.
And, when you hear estate, you think some big, I think about like Dallas. Remember that TV show Dallas?
You walking on white fence and you got to go down a couple acres before you get to the house.
Right. J.R. Ewing, you know what I'm saying? Some big. But again, like, what is the definition of an estate just in general?
Anything that's in your name that you own. Your shirt is a part of your estate. Anything that you have is a part of your estate. And estate planning means that essentially you saying what happens to those things if something happens to you and what happens to your body or to your bank account. So with the healthcare directive or a living will, you're saying if I can't make these decisions, this is what I want you to do. It's dictating what happens with everything in your life, including yourself.
Okay. Now, the other big word that we you see anytime you turn on social media, anytime you look around is generational wealth. Generational wealth. You got to have generational wealth, And look, a lot of us are first generation. If we're just being totally honest, a lot of I was having a conversation at a location in Atlanta, very high up in the city, and I was sitting at this table with a bunch of people that were definitely multi-generational, and I was explaining to them. I said, you know what, I'm first generation. I'm figuring this thing out too. I'm glad that I've got where I'm at, but I don't have did nobody. My parents are still here, thankfully. But like I said, nobody passed me down any money or anything like that. But when it comes to generational wealth, how do you define that based on what you do?
By definition, generational wealth means this generation is passing something down to the next. You can't have generational wealth without making a plan to transition it. because that means you just have wealth. It's not generational if it can't go
Yeah.
to the next group. So when people are saying we want generational wealth, they really mean, when I hear it, they really mean, let me just make a lot of money. They're not talking about how am I going to leave it for my children. That's the part that they miss in the conversation.
Now, when people talk about estate planning and all, and and generational wealth, a lot of times I guess they just think it starts at just really just writing a will. Like, is it more than that? Are there other misconceptions that you kind of deal with when you're talking about estate planning?
Yeah, because you have to be more thoughtful than that. Having a will isn't enough. I've seen too many times that, so you have a will, it has to go to probate court. Probate court, they say the purpose of probate court is to make sure the will is valid and follows the proper structure, and then to distribute the assets. But in all honesty, the purpose to probate court is to preserve your assets for the benefit of your creditors, because they don't want people to die and owe the hospital, owe all these people money, and then give stuff to their children and not pay these debts off. So it is opening up, for example, the estate of Amber Saunders. And if once that death certificate issues, my family or whoever is going to start getting letters that says, oh, my condolences for your loss. Who's going to pay this bill?
Right.
And so they're waiting to see if someone opens an estate. They want you to notify them, and there's ways for them to be able to see whether or not, and then they're going to file a claim. And so before the will can even work and give something to your children or whomever else, all those creditors have to be paid first.
Yeah.
Taxes have to be paid for whatever income you made that year. All of that is to pay off all of that debt. And then whatever's left over goes according to your will.
Yeah.
And so there are ways to get around that. So when people just want to have a will, or they think, TV does a disservice because they'll say, oh, we're going to do a reading of the will. It's like, that don't matter, because it's still got to go to court and go through the process. So what you reading it for? You're not going to get anything until it goes through probate.
Right.
And now you could, if they were doing a reading of the trust maybe or something like that, like a trust will allow you, a revocable living trust will allow you to skip all of that. So your trust would be the beneficiary of your bank accounts or whatever you want to make to go inside of the trust. You can change the deed to your house, the warranty deed, to put the trust on there so that when you pass, there's nothing to open up an estate for. It doesn't have to go through that process. So then whoever you designate as the person in charge, the trustee, they can go the next day and sell whatever. As soon as they get the death certificate or whatever they need to show that you are no longer there, then they can follow your wishes, take care of everything, and they don't have to go get a GoFundMe.
Yeah. Now, you just brought up another term too, a trust. Like, again, I hear that thrown around on social media all day. I keep on hearing, this is what the wealthy people do. They put their stuff in a trust and you do this. And so again, what is a trust?
So it's an agreement that you make. Essentially, you're the grantor, meaning the person who created it. And these terms, I mean, whatever, you're the person who made it, right? You make the trust. You decide who the trustee is. Most of the time, you're going to be the trustee of your revocable living trust. And it's an agreement that you're making during your life to give these things over to this trust and to say what is supposed to happen, how your children receive it, if they're allowed to sell property. You're just saying what you want to happen. That's it. There's a revocable and an irrevocable. Revocable, you can change as many times as you want. The mortgage company's not going to have a problem if you put your property in it because it's still attached to you. The EIN is your social security number. You don't have to file any taxes. It's not like it's a separate entity. When you have an irrevocable trust, you are giving all of whatever assets you want to put in there, you're giving it away. Once you put it in there, you cannot take it back. It does not belong to you. That's it. You're not the trustee. Most of the time, you cannot be the trustee at all. You can't change the terms. That's why it's irrevocable. You cannot revoke it. That's it. When you do that, you might be subject to gift tax unless you're below the exemption. And that's where people are like, oh, we want asset protection. During their life, whatever these assets are they're putting in there, it's protected from creditors under certain conditions, all of that. Most people don't need that. In all honesty, because we have this paranoia about, oh, I want to protect my assets from creditors. Who is coming to get you? And if you put things in there knowing someone's coming to get you, it can be undone. Like there's each state, there's a uniform, like, I can't even remember the name of it now because I'm about to tell you. It's probably why I don't remember. But essentially, if you know of a creditor and things like that and you're trying to hide stuff, they can undo the transfer, fraudulent transfer anyway. They'd consider it that. So it just depends on the circumstance under which you're transferring it. But it's going to pay higher taxes. pays the highest tax rate on any gains, things like that. Depending on the circumstance, depending on how much money you have, depending on what your profession is, you might need it. But in general, most of us do not. So when people are calling my office saying they need a Rockefeller trust, I'm like, do you have Rockefeller money? Because for what? Like, it doesn't even make any sense for you to make it that complicated for your family.
Yeah.
Just make sure it doesn't go to probate court, and teach them how to continue what you're doing. But you don't it becomes irrevocable on your family anyway. So like once you die as the grantor, the person who creates it, nobody else can change the terms.
Okay.
So they are stuck the same way it would be if you created one for yourself then. So you really have the power to craft it the way you want to make them or to help them. Well, if you teach them the right thing, they'll be able to preserve it and put more things in it and do all of that stuff.
Yeah. So estate planning is essentially coming up with a plan for your estate and figuring out what types of things you need. Do you need a trust? Do you need a irrevocable trust? Do you need a will? Right? Like that's basically what it comes down to.
That's all it is.
Because people just mix all this stuff together.
And I mean, and that people will want to land. All of that stuff is a part of estate planning because the land, the property, all that stuff is a part of your estate. So that's
Right.
just a general name for it. You might just want asset protection. You might just want, there are trusts where you just put life insurance in there because you don't want it a part of your taxable estate. So it'll be an irrevocable life insurance trust. Depending on your financial situation, how much money's there, what you want to accomplish will determine what kind of trust or what kind of things you might need. But for most of us, we don't need things that are that complicated. The real thought process needs to go into what terms do we want to put in there? How do we make sure? Because we're the first generation, probably for a lot of people, making the most money. So how do we want to make sure that our children or our beneficiaries, whoever you're leaving it to, don't blow it all?
Yeah.
How do you make sure that it grows or something like that? You're going to have to lay a blueprint out because, again, you're the first person who did it. Who knows? Maybe, hopefully, you're teaching them. If not, you're going to have to give them some guidance in the document to make sure that they don't blow all of it.
Now, one thing you hear too when you talk to people is just, or at least I know I hear when I talk to people, is like, I don't have enough money or enough assets to have an estate plan. Like, what's the reality behind that? Is that true?
Nah, if you have anything. For my grandmother, it was just a house.
Yeah.
That house that my grandmother had, that was my great-grandmother's, was bought, I don't know, in the 60s, I think. My mother sold it finally in 2021. My mother was diagnosed with cancer March 14th, 2024. That house and that money is what made her not have to work from my great-grandmother's house. So it doesn't have to be nothing but that. But again, they had a plan for it and it was paid off. Sometimes people will just leave someone a house, but if your income is gone and you don't have enough life insurance, then can they pay the mortgage?
Right.
Like, you have to sit there and think about that because if you're the breadwinner and you're leaving this person the house and then they can't maintain that lifestyle, you really need to have a plan. You need to talk to a financial advisor to see how much insurance you need or how long will they be able to maintain that lifestyle if you're not there and that income's not there. It just requires some thought. You shouldn't just leave it and they not really know what it means to be they can be a home buyer, but they're not a home owner. They don't know the taxes are a part of it.
Yeah.
So then the taxes don't get paid. All of those things, it just requires a little bit more work.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people, they might think this all sounds, they might be hesitant because they feel like it's expensive or, they can't afford it. But like when it comes to just, again, like the long-term value of doing this planning versus the risks, like how do you kind of communicate that to people?
Well, I'm going to keep it a buck with anybody who calls. If they don't need it, I'm just going to tell them, no, do this. Like,
Right.
Don't spend this money. I feel like this is God's work, like helping people do this because this can really change. If things go the way they are, we're not going to have, our community's not going to have a lot of money. In what they said, 2050, it'll be like zero or
like
something.
Zero, right.
So we have to do something. So I would rather, tell people like, hey, just update the beneficiaries, do this if you're not trying to do any, in-depth planning. But, if they need to just have a consultation, it's worth the money to just talk to somebody and figure out what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can plan for it. If you feel like it's too much, then okay, what can you do right now? Get a healthcare directive, power of attorney, and get a will. If you want to plan for a trust later, then plan for the trust later. You don't have to do it all in one sitting. But the alternative is for the state to decide what to do with your stuff, for your family to potentially be in conflict because you didn't write down what was supposed to happen and you trusting that your children not going to act a fool when you know they are. Or, I mean, shout out grandpa. Like, we went to his funeral. I found I had another uncle. You know what I'm saying? Like, it happens. And so it's like, you really going to leave if you don't care about your family, just say that. Because essentially that's what you're saying. They could fend for themselves. I'm going to be gone. You don't think enough of them to make it easier. And also think about the fact that they're going to be grieving you. You're gone. Yeah. So you want them to have to handle your business and deal with your mess, and they can't even process the fact that you're not there anymore to be there with them to sort through for them to figure out what to do. Like, just do them a solid.
So somebody's hearing this and they realize they do need to do estate planning. Like, what's the first thing they should do? What's the first step they should take?
I'd say,
and the first step is not just going on social media and Googling and just
and don't listen to all of those things. I would tell people just go into it with an open mind, because I get a lot of. I've talked to other estate planners and we get people who are calling and we have to undo what people are saying on social media.
Yeah.
So people will call. I had somebody call me and tell me they need a family office. I said, sis, how much money are you trying to put in there? And she was like, I'm building $1 trillion company. Do you have any money now? No. So don't spend it. That doesn't make any sense, sis. Like, what are you talking about? Right. You can't pay all of these people. And I had to try and explain what it was. But she heard somebody say that that's what rich people have. And it's like, but you, all right. I mean, and so it ends up being a lot of work trying to undo some of this. So first, I would just say do an inventory of your assets, because that's one of the things that a lot of people don't know what they have. So they don't realize how much they have because they haven't really looked at, you got this many accounts, you have some crypto, you have a house, you have, they might have $5,000, $50,000 or $10,000 insurance policies. Maybe they kept it up, maybe it's term or not. Just look at everything. Just sit down, and so that when you're going to talk to somebody and you fill out whatever intake form they have, you can say, let me show you mine. And then they can kind of give you some guidance on what to do. Most lawyers will be honest and say, you don't need a trust, just do this. Or, you know, you have to really think about what you want to be done with it. Because there are some people who don't want, I mean, we've had significant land loss in our community. Do you really want them to be able to sell it?
Yeah.
If you don't, and you want them to keep it, do they know what to do with it? If they don't, are you going to give them some instructions in there? Like, you just have to think through it, whether it's difficult or not. That's the biggest blessing. You let them just follow the steps. Give them the steps. Give them the game.
I think for a lot of people too, you know, I think there's just maybe even some, I mean, there's one not known, but there could also just be, I don't know if it's embarrassment or just hesitation. Because, yeah, like sometimes you do have to sit down and like look at the numbers sometimes. And like, yeah, you might not have $100 million in the bank, right? But like, how do you deal with people that are just, you know, apprehensive to even do this because they're embarrassed when they actually put it down and say, you know what, yeah, I'm actually not worth $5 million. I'm worth, you know, $5,000. But you can still do this kind of work though.
Yeah, you can't build anything if you don't even have visibility.
Right.
So you have to. This can be a starting point for you all to make a change, for you to see this and say, okay, let me protect what I have, and then now I'm gonna come back and get an amendment in 3 years because I've built more once I saw what I had. But it just requires you to have some sort of, and you have to just have a little courage.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not laughing at nobody. You're not judging nobody if they come to you and they don't, and they, you know, because again, they got to start somewhere.
You have to. And I mean, again, the only thing my grandmother had, the only thing my great grandmother had was that house. And it was important to us because they worked for it. My great grandmother was a maid. I don't know how she, in Boston of all places, that, you know what I mean, and bought these houses on her own. It doesn't matter if it's just that. Like, I think that we have to do a better job of not comparing. Like, everything looks flashy and shiny on social media.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're comparing, oh, well, the first thing to say, I really don't have a lot. I don't care what you have. You need to realize that it's worth it. So why do you think that what you have is not important enough to protect? That doesn't make any sense. You worked for it. It's yours. Make sure nobody's taking it.
Yeah. And again, like, these are your assets. Again, you want to make sure that whatever it is, you want to make sure that you have those and you're not dealing with it Now, a lot of people that are entrepreneurs also listen to this podcast, and you probably deal with those too, especially in a city like Atlanta. Like, what are just some specific things that entrepreneurs should consider when they're getting ready to go down this path of estate planning?
Man, what happens to the business if something happens to you? Can the business operate without you? If you are gone, does it fall apart?
Mm-hmm.
And if it does, what are they supposed to do with it? Like, I have clients who it's a couple, and the business is in her name because they get designated as a minority, all this other stuff. But if something happens to her, he loses some of those designations because it's tied to her. Like, do you all have a plan on what to do? Do you have, for example, key man insurance? I refer a lot of my clients to advisors to get something like that, so that if you have a partner, a business partner who you're not related to in any way, do they really want to be in partnership with your spouse if you die? Probably not. So you might need a policy that pays for that interest that you have in the business so that they're not having to deal with your spouse. I had a client it was three brothers. One of the brothers died. They had key man insurance, but they talked to her, and when he died about 10 years ago, they decided to keep the money and grow the business and let her have an interest. She is terrorizing them now. She wants her son to be a part. Like, they've never been involved in the business. The two surviving brothers have been taking care of everything, and now this person wants documents, and they want to be a part of. They want to force their son to be able to be in the business who never, like, it's a nightmare because they didn't just pay it out and follow the blueprint. Get some money from somewhere else. Let this lady be gone. They didn't think she was going to do that. They thought she would just allow. And they were like, well, Amber, can I just pay the original amount? Nope. The business is worth more now. You're not going to be able to just give her that policy because the agreement wasn't with her. You all let it go. So, like, they're not planning for what happens if someone's gone. And then a lot of business owners need to just come up with some succession planning. If the business is supposed to be able to operate without you, what does that plan look like?
Yeah.
Who are you grooming in the business to take over the CEO spot or whatever you're doing so that it's not tied to you? One, if you want to sell it, because a lot of folks' kids don't want their businesses.
You're right.
It's not like people are passing them on to children. So who is going to take it? Is the plan to sell it, or is the plan to make sure that they can eat? They're getting distributions or something like that. But you have to plan that out because otherwise they're going to be doing a fire sale and selling all the stuff off.
Yeah. Now, you said something interesting there about key man insurance, and that's something I've heard that term. I'd forgotten all about that specifically. Are there other interesting or useful types of insurance like that people should also, just in general, like, I'm just curious,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, what are some other unique types of insurance or, things people should consider in that space?
I definitely would say everyone needs key man if you have a partner, or just figure out how to make sure to get people out the way if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I think people underestimate the value of long-term care insurance. I would just let the business pay for it if you don't want to pay it for. But, like, you need long-term care because the cost of senior living, if you don't have all of that stuff, is a lot. And the reason why we didn't have to put my grandmother in a home is because she paid for that. So a nurse came to her home every day and bathed her and fed her and did all of those things to make it easier for my uncle, who is the main caregiver. People need to have that. There's insurance for everything. I mean, when my mother got diagnosed, I went and called Aflac, the duck, and got some cancer insurance. There's insurance for everything. And I didn't even know they had that until one of my clients told me. So, I mean, if you talk to an advisor, or you can find some insurance for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay. I didn't know about that. Yeah, I've been under the Aflac headquarters a couple times.
They got everything.
This is crazy. Just totally as an aside on Aflac. Have you ever been down to Columbus to, like, Aflac headquarters? So the CEO of Aflac, at the headquarters, they have their big, huge office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then next to the office, they have a huge, like, parking deck. He built an Italian villa on the top. You can look it up on Google. A huge mansion Italian villa on the top of the parking deck, directly next to Aflac headquarters, because he said he didn't want to have to walk far to get home. It's a different kind of money. I'm just trying to tell folks.
You throw it off. You want to be that close to work?
He said he wanted to be that close to work. He would work that much, where literally you can look it up. I've seen it. I've actually been up there before.
So they need you. You got to just knock on. Excuse me, sir. Can you come to work?
He just
no. That's interesting. Now I'm gonna go look it up.
Like, total random fact. Total random fact.
Sir, please.
If you could tell every listener that we have, just like, what's one thing they can do today to start protecting their future and thinking about it, what would it be? What's the first thing they could do?
have conversations with their loved ones about it, what they're thinking, what they would want to do, because I think also the planning doesn't have to be a singular thing where you're just doing it yourself, because it's for your family. Really, estate planning is not for you because you'll be gone anyway, right? But it's for them. So talk to them kind of about, whether or not they want to participate in the process. What does that look like? An example of, and I mean, I keep referencing my mother because it was really the first time I had to go through it myself when she was sick. And I had to tell her, like, I don't want to pull the plug. Somebody else has to be, I don't want to do it. I'm an only child. What, we gonna find a friend? Because I don't want to be the person, like, I'm fine if someone else does it, but I don't want to tell anybody to take my mother off the machine. I'm not about to live with that. I don't want to. You'll be in my living room.
Right.
For 10 years, like James, however long they had, you're going to be here with me, but I don't want to do it. But without having that conversation, she's going to put my name on everything because I'm the only child. Listen, let me tell you what my capacity is and what it's not. And so until we sat there and had that conversation, I probably would have been, and she'd have been mad. She'd have been mad coming back trying to haunt me. But I just know myself. I know I don't want to do it. You need to start having conversations with your children, with your parents, because Black people going to tell you it's none of your business. And they don't, like, so the easier you can make it for yourself when it's time for you to take care of your parents, like, these conversations need to be had before there's an emergency. Yeah. So I would just start with, hey, what do you want me to do? I just want to make sure I don't do something wrong. I don't mess up. Can you just help me out? Because I'm writing up my own. I just need to know. And if you make your parent feel like they're helping you as opposed to you taking something from them, you can't. My grandma was mad when we said she couldn't drive. Well, you turned in oncoming traffic, man.
Yeah.
So you can't. But she didn't want that freedom taken away. Don't make them feel like you're taking something away from them. Make them feel like they're helping you and they're more likely to do it. I don't want to make the wrong decision, do something wrong. I need you to help me and write this down. Maybe that'll open up the conversation, but you got to just start talking to people because we don't like communicating sometimes.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's a topic that we, definitely in our community, we kind of avoid. And then when it comes up, like you say, you're dealing with a million other things. And, again, people a lot of times think it's just enough to have life insurance in place. And I mean, I hope people are definitely kind of getting that part. But again, there's just other parts to it. Because like you said before, if not, what you don't want to do is start having the government and, and everybody getting involved and figuring out how you're going to split things up when you're not here. Because like to your point, I mean, I've seen it many times where, somebody passes away and they have enough, if they have a policy, now you got even the family like arguing about, all right, we're going to split up. I mean, I've been in the situation where I've literally seen the family argue over splitting up what was left. And I mean, everybody got like $200.
Right. It's like and hope is not a strategy. I hope they'll do the right thing. That don't work. Like I hear people, well, I just hope that they will. How about let's just give them some instructions that they have to follow instead of just hoping. We have to do more than that, because if you want your family to stay together, be together, any of those things, the likelihood is that they will fight over $200 is way larger than you think.
Absolutely. Now, one thing I'm sure people also kind of wonder, just in general, how much does this kind of thing cost, right? And again, you don't have to be like overly specific, but again, are we talking about tens of thousands of dollars to get this stuff done, or like how much does it cost for like just the average person that doesn't have, again, millions of bucks or like huge assets and all that stuff?
It's going to cost you a couple $1,000s at least. It depends on, I would try and find an attorney that does flat fees, because I'm not a fan of billing. You don't want to feel like you're calling them and you're going to get a bill for $90 for 15 minutes.
See, I've been
because
there
you're going to stop asking questions,
right.
right? And so it deters, and part of you going through that process is for you to get some education and know how to operate. I want, at the end of the day, anybody who leaves my office to know how to put assets in the trust without me. You shouldn't have to. Now, if you want to call, that's fine. You shouldn't have to. This is your stuff. You should know how to maneuver it, know how to do all those things. So through the process, we want to educate you. So I would look for someone who has flat fees so that you don't have to worry about that and you can get as much information as you can. But if you need to, there's some people who might need to do it yourself. Start somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't like templated stuff. I don't like you not sitting down and just talking about your family and going through those things. But if you have to do that in the beginning, I'd rather you have something than nothing. Go to one of the websites, get something, do that. But don't go to the people on the interwebs and get people who are non-lawyers selling you stuff and then it doesn't work. I've had people give somebody who was non-attorney person in another state like $6,000.
Mm-hmm.
You gave somebody $6,000 who wasn't like, there's no repercussion. You can't get the money back. There's nothing like, there's a lot of the internet. The only bad thing, I love the internet, but it made everybody feel like they had a right to an opinion and to tell people all sorts of things. And a lot of the times it's wrong. So just try and find somebody. See if you can pay for a consultation. If you feel good about it, go for it. But just understand the price structure and just try. It's going to depend on the complexity. But like I said, most people don't need anything complex.
Yeah, I mean, and I just learned something too, even from you. Like again, like you could set it up so that you can do it yourself, and you don't necessarily have to call an attorney every time, right?
Every time. You shouldn't. I don't want anybody to, I bought a new house. What do I do? You know how to put it in there because I'm going to tell you beforehand. As long as you're not changing the actual document, you shouldn't have to go to them every time and pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to do it yourself.
Okay. Well, look, if you need somebody to do this, which I would definitely recommend everybody looks into it, you should definitely consider Amber and the Saunders firm. So if they do want to reach out or get more information, how can they get in contact with you and learn more about this process?
Thank you. Our website is thesaundersfirm.com, SAUNDERS. The phone number is 678-680-4336, or I'm on Instagram mostly. I'm trying to do better and get on TikTok, but that's the Lord's work. My Instagram is Ask Amber Saunders.
Okay.
And then I can point them in the right direction and go from there. But there's plenty of information. There's other attorneys here. Just, talk, see who's a good fit. It's like dating. Check them out.
Yeah,
see
absolutely.
how it works.
Absolutely. Well, Amber, thank you so much for pulling up. Shared a lot of great information.
Thank you.
Y'all, please take this information and do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure, again, we're not doing GoFundMes, y'all. We
Please
taking care of our business, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We handling business in 2025 and beyond.
Because nobody else going to handle it for us.
Ain't that right? Well, thank y'all. Thank you so much for listening, y'all. And that's the pod. We out.